Santa Claus. Who was he? And what is his significance at this time of the year? Well, the story begins with a gentleman named Nicholas who lived in the area of Turkey about 300 years after Jesus' birth. He was known as a great Christian leader who became a bishop when he was hardly more than a boy. In later years, he was sanctified. St. Nicholas was known for his generosity. He loved giving gifts. According to one story, there was a poor nobleman who had 3 daughters. Because he did not have enough money, his daughters could not get married. St. Nicholas wanted to help, but he wanted to do it secretly. One night, he went to the nobleman's house, climbed on the roof, and threw a little bag of gold down the chimney. It landed in a stocking that had been hung by the fireplace to dry. The next evening, he threw another bag of gold down the chimney, and it landed in another stocking. On the third night, the nobleman waited up to see who was being so generous. As he watched, St. Nicholas dropped a third bag of gold into another stocking. He was discovered. Some say that because of this story, people hang stockings by the fireplace at Christmas. An orange in the toe of the stocking can remind us of the bag of gold St. Nicholas gave. Because of St. Nicholas' generosity, people remembered him and told stories about his deeds. Hundreds of years later, children celebrated his feast on December the 6th. Even today in Germany and some other countries, children hang stockings on December 6th for St. Nicholas Day and find them filled with fruit, nuts, and candy. In Holland, the Dutch children called St. Nicholas Sinterklaas. On Christmas Eve, the children put their wooden shoes in front of the fireplace. They hoped that Sinterklaas would leave gifts in them. The children also put out hay for the saint's horse. When the Dutch came to America, they brought the story of Sinterklaas with them. When the Americans tried to pronounce his name, it came out as Santa Claus, the name we know today. About the same time the name of St. Nicholas was changed, his appearance also changed. He was originally portrayed as a tall, dignified man wearing a bishop's hat and robe, sometimes riding a horse. In 1809, American writer Washington Irving described Santa Claus as a typical Dutch settler in New York at the time, fat, jolly, wearing large Dutch breeches and a broad-brim hat. Washington Irving visioned Santa Claus riding above the trees in a wagon, dropping presents down chimneys. In 1822, Clement Moore wrote the poem, A Visit from St. Nicholas. He gave him a sled pulled by flying reindeer. His depiction of St. Nicholas was a jolly old elf dressed in fur from head to toe, with a fat belly that shook when he laughed. A few years later, American cartoonist Thomas Nast drew a series of pictures showing Santa Claus making toys in his workshop and leaving them in stockings hung by the fireplace. This is the Santa Claus much as we know him today. The legend of Santa Claus is based on a real person who believed in Jesus and who enjoyed giving gifts. Over the centuries, people have made up stories about him until his image is what we see today in shopping malls, advertisements, and on television. This is an interesting story, but we must always remember that the center of Christmas is Jesus Christ. It is his birth that we celebrate, and he is the giver of all good things. As you see Santa Claus this season, remember the life of Nicholas in the 4th century and the desire he had to live an honorable Christian life in his community. His ministry was to bring the love of Jesus to all he encountered.